This is Erin Somerville at McCallum High School, now going over the third part of bureaucracy. So what we have here is a picture of the executive branch. Now, this is a really zoomed out picture. You have the 15 departments in these boxes, but if you were to zoom into each one of these, you would see another pyramid that looks kind of similar to this. So there are many folks employed in the State Department. The President nominates and the Senate confirms the appointment of the Secretary of State, currently John Kerry, but everyone else in there is hired according to and they're paid according to the GS schedule, and there's a lot of rules about how to hire and make sure these folks are qualified. But they're hired there, and many of them make this their career. And what you have here is a picture of the President's cabinet in his first term. So the heads of all these departments called secretaries, except for the Department of Justice, we call that person the Attorney General, but same function as a secretary. And so what I want to spend some time here with this part of the lecture is going over the relationship between the President and the rest of the executive branch. So the people who work in these various departments and agencies, many of them have made this their career, that this is their field. They are experts in this field. And the President gets elected. So there are folks, most of them here are not, all of them are not elected. Some of them are appointed, the top level people are appointed. And then the President is elected, and he oversees it, as Neustadt in Presidential Power says, he is the clerk. So he's at best a manager. And managers have to coordinate, they do direct, but they can't necessarily make people do things. And so if you could imagine a president comes in and he has to oversee all of these departments and agencies, and the people employed in those departments and agencies have been there a long time and they are experts in their field. So this is going to be difficult as a manager. It is hard to come in and oversee people who have been there longer and probably know more about a given topic. So when the President comes in and he essentially governs, I don't want to say governs, he essentially manages over the Department of Energy, there are folks that work in that department that are experts in that department that have been there much longer. And he has to manage them. So that is kind of backwards when it comes to power. Generally, if you think about a well-running business, the people at the top have been there the longest. They might have already gone through the ranks. The President gets to the top of this pyramid. He probably didn't go through the ranks. He came in it another way. Also, his main power is to nominate these secretaries. But after that, he doesn't have power. He can't walk in to the EPA and just start firing people or promoting people. He doesn't have the ability to get involved in such a direct way. He relies on his relationship and his ability to persuade folks in those departments to get on board with his goal. Now, another thing to think about is, while he came in more recently than most of the people working in these agencies, he's also going to be probably the next one to go. So if you're a lifer, if you've been working in the Department of Education for 15 years and a president gets elected, you know in 4 to 8 years he's going to be gone and there's going to be someone else coming in with their new agenda. And so that affects the the president's relationship and therefore his power, because he's going to have to be able to persuade these folks to help him. Now, the buck does stop with him. So if there's a problem, if, let's say, the IRS is unfairly targeting conservative groups, as was recently alleged, it becomes a question of, did the president know about it? He's technically above all of these agencies, and the IRS should not be partisan. The IRS is supposed to collect taxes according to law set out, according to the tax code, and that should be fair. That should not be biased. That should not be a discriminatory process. Taking money from people in a discriminatory way is fundamentally wrong. And if the president knew about that, that's impeachable. So the question is, did he know about it? And if he didn't know about it, we have a problem. We have a problem of competence. If he did know about it, we have a problem of corruption. So the president is at the top of this pyramid, and he is responsible for everything below it. He's responsible for it without actually having that many powers to direct it. And so this is his describing his role as chief administrator. This is probably his most difficult task. How to control this many people, 150 agencies, thousands of people, how to control them without having very many tools in his tool belt to exert power over them. So if you think of him at the top of the pyramid being all-powerful, I need you to reframe that. He is at the top of the pyramid. And when you're at the top of the pyramid, you're completely dependent upon the people below you to do their job. If they break, you fall. And that's a good analogy for the presidency. He relies on the departments to carry out their job in a non-corrupt, effective way, because at the end of the day, he's at the top. He's the one held responsible. Okay, so I might put that, there might be a link or two, an extension link to see the president as a manager. But those will be extension clips down below if I have them. So this, I kind of wanted to show you a zoomed in picture. One of his cabinet's departments is the Department of the Interior, which deals with land and resource management. If you were to zoom in on one of those boxes we looked at, the Department of Interior, this is what you would see, is you would see more people, more offices, and the variety of tasks that that department deals with. So when it comes to the Department of Interior and thinking about land, resources, and management, it would make sense that you see National Park Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Bureau of Land Management. You might be surprised to see that we have a Bureau of Indian Education. This might not be the best placement of the office, of the Bureau, but it's the one that has been decided, it makes the most sense to put it in the Department of Interior. So when we look at the organizational chart, what offices go in what departments, it can be confusing to figure out what tasks should go to which department. And there might be some tasks that go to many departments, and there might be some tasks that only go to one department, and that can vary. And so sometimes when we do have a problem in the functioning of government, we'll look to how can we make an organizational change to make things more effective. So after 9/11, the Office of Homeland Security was sort of disassembled, and then the Department of Homeland Security was created in order to tackle newer problems, newer concerns. So to show the conflict and the overlap, I have this chart. So we don't really have a single border security agency. If you look at the list I gave you of the 15 cabinet departments, it'd be hard to pick the one that deals with border security. And that's a major governmental concern for any country is border security. So really, the job of border security is not a single job. It falls on a whole bunch of departments. So you can look through this and see all the departments that in some way deal with border security. So you might be picturing this, concern about people coming illegally across the border from Mexico. But border security extends into other spheres that you might overlook, like the Postal Service. You can mail things in and out of this country quite easily. And so our mail crosses the border all the time. And the United States Postal Service has a role in border security with that, particularly to mail. So, look at this, and what I want you to really glean from it is that there's not always a clear agency for a clear law, but rather a variety of laws. Hopefully they don't conflict, but a variety of laws that are going to go to a few different agencies, and then we hope that those agencies in their shared mission can coordinate when need be and not interfere with each other when need be. Okay, so those were the 3 parts for bureaucracy.